Welcome, everyone. Here we are in chapter 6, and we have Job showing that his complaints are not causeless, and he does wish for death, and he's assured of his comfort that he's going to have after he passes away. He is not without wisdom and understanding here at all. And then he reproves his friends for their unkindness, and he uses some similitudes there to do that. So here on we go. It says, "But Job answered and said, Oh, that my grief were thoroughly weighed, and my calamity laid in the balances together." Now there is your balances of knowing right and wrong, folks. Knowing the good from the bad, the wheat from the chaff, the right from the left. All that is a good judgment, and there are real balances, okay, that God uses. Of course, they're not like something that we would picture here in the flesh, but God has his plumb line and balances, and that is connected directly to Judgment Day. Now look at Belshazzar there in the book of Daniel, how he was weighed in the balance and found wanting, okay? And the next thing you know, he was gone, dead, and his kingdom was divided, okay? And the balances were there used. They're all through the Bible. The balances, right and wrong, judgment. For now it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore my words are swallowed up. So he's asking his friends to look with proper judgment and look at the real balances to know what is right and wrong and how much he's suffering here. In 4 it says, "For the arrows of the Almighty are within me, the poison whereof drinketh up my spirit. The terrors of God do set themselves in array against me." Okay, now he's talking about Psalms 38:2. And this is some of the things that had to do with the crucifixion, etc., that are in Psalms. And here he's applying it to himself. And the fact is that he's being plagued here, and he does not deserve this when it comes to the balances of judgment. He is not sinning, and he didn't sin to get plagued here. All right, now he uses some similitudes. It says, "Doth the wild ass bray when he hath grass?" ? And the answer is no. "Or loweth the ox over his fodder?" You know, they've got their full belly, they're busy eating. So, in other words, he's not braying, so forth, for no reason at all here, okay, in this similitude. And in 6 it goes on, "Can that which is unsavory be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste in the white of an egg?" ? All right, so here he's saying that he's unhappy with the things of the world, and the fact is that his cause is not without reason here. 7 it says, "The things that my soul refused to touch are as my sorrowful meat." So he's not enjoying life at all. Okay, he looks at life as vile here because of his casting down and how troubled he really is. In 8 he goes on, "Oh, that I might have my request," ! And that God would grant me the thing that I long for, ! Even that it would please God to destroy me, that he would let loose his hand and cut me off. Okay, this is not suicide, all right? "Thou shalt not kill" means suicide also. But he's asking God, if it pleases him, that he can be destroyed in the flesh and gathered to God and comforted. That's completely different than suicide. Many of the saints reach this point. There's things with Elijah and the prophet Jeremiah even, where they were lamenting their own fellow men and women that were plaguing them. And they felt all alone and very sorrowful. And they asked God to take them, but never, 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 never was suicide ever mentioned. Okay, that is an abomination. Thou shalt not kill. That is the law of God, including killing yourself or an unborn child or whatever, or a born child. It doesn't matter. Okay, and even that it would please God to destroy me, that he would let loose his hand and cut me off. So there he's asking God to take his life, not taking his own life into his own hands, okay? 10, it says, then should I yet have comfort. Yea, I would harden myself in sorrow. Let him not spare, for I have not concealed the words of the Holy One. Okay, so notice here, he's not sinning. And he's not concealing what he knows. He's not held his light of the words of the Holy One. He hasn't withdrawn that. We have that history here. Even Eliphaz himself talked about all the comfort he gave other people, and that would be through the words of the Holy One. All right? So he's not saying I'm some sinner. He says, what is my strength that I should hope? And what is mine end that I should prolong my life? So he sees no use in his life here. But we know better, folks. We know because of this doctrine. And it's going to get written in a book. As a matter of fact, he said, as this goes on, if my words were just written in a book, and that actually comes true. So as he thinks he doesn't have any purpose here, he has a great purpose that's going to last forever, and that's this doctrine we're reading. So that's the reason, Job, that your life is prolonged here. One of the reasons, a great reason. Is my strength the strength of stones, or my flesh of brass? Okay, so he's not some robot. He's not worshiping some idol. Okay, his strength comes from Almighty God. It's his spirit. So he's not, when it comes to stones and brass, those are physical. His strength comes from God Almighty. Is not my help in me? That's his spirit. And is wisdom driven quite from me? Question mark? No. The answer is no. He has wisdom and understanding. And 14, it says, to him that is afflicted, pity should be shewed from his friend, but he forsaketh the fear of the Almighty. Okay, so that goes right back to these accusations. Well, they're not comforting Job. They're judging him unrighteously. They don't have their balances correct, and there is no pity here being used. Listen to this in 15. My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook, and as the stream of brooks they pass away. Okay, so there, the brook dries up, the brook floods, the brook can trickle and then dry up completely, be gone. It can change its routes during flood. So no, the brook is deceitful in this similitude. Okay, 16, which are blackish by reason of the ice, and wherein the snow is hid. Okay, so see, it's hiding things. It's not correct here in this similitude. The brook. What time they wax warm, they vanish. When it is hot, they are consumed out of their place. Okay. So here he gets in trouble. Here comes the friends. They last for 7 days. Then they turn on him like a viper, like the brook that's dried up. Their love is gone, it seems. 18, the paths of their way are turned aside. They go to nothing and perish. Now that's back to this brook, and it's a similitude of his friends, okay? 19, the troops of Tema looked, the companies of Sheba waited for them. They were confounded because they had hoped. They came thither and were ashamed. Okay, so there they are. They had this false hope, and now it's what? It's destroyed. 21. For now ye are nothing. Ye see my casting down and are afraid. Okay, so that was aimed right directly at his friends that have no wisdom and understanding. And as soon as they see what's going on, they have an ungodly fear. And so there's that. Isn't 22. Did I say, bring unto me? Question mark. Or give a reward for me of your substance? Question mark. Okay, so he's saying, I didn't want monetary consideration or anything like that from you guys. I would like a little pity, though. All right, and a little comfort. 23, or deliver me from the enemy's hand, or redeem me from the hand of the mighty. In other words, I didn't call you here to battle. I just called you. In fact, he didn't call him here that I know of. All right, so what he's saying is I didn't have some ulterior motive here, and you came here like the troops of Tema and Sheba, and they're all confounded, and so this is all directed directly at the three friends, and they deserve every stitch of it. 24, it says, teach me, and I will hold my tongue, and cause me to understand wherein I have erred. Okay, now there's a great point there. What has he done that is so sinful? You guys are just judging him? Well, how are you doing that? Were you there? Were you there when Satan had the permission to do this? See, you have no wisdom and understanding, and yet you are using judgment. Unrighteous judgment. And at 25, how forcible are right words. But what doth your arguing reprove? Do ye imagine to reprove? Do ye imagine to reprove words and the speeches of one that is desperate, which are as wind? Which are as wind. So here you are, you're kicking them when they're down. You're reproving somebody that doesn't need it. He's down, he's desperate, okay? And is that not the time to show love? 27, it says, yea, ye overwhelm the fatherless, and you dig a pit for your friend. Now, therefore, be content, look upon me, for it is evident unto you, if I lie. He's asking them to use righteous judgment and to not try to trick him and trap him and exalt yourself over him and use a judgment that's just not true. And 29, return, I pray you, let it not be iniquity. Yea, return again, my righteousness is in it. 30, it says, is there iniquity in my tongue? Question mark. Cannot my taste discern perverse things? So he has not lost his judgment. He is telling them to use proper judgment and to not kick the lowly when they're down. Okay? And he's really down. He does not deserve it. And so why are you busy attacking him unjustly here? All right, in 7 it goes on, as Job talks on. It says, is there not an appointed time to man upon earth? Question mark. That's very wise words. Are not his days also like the days of an hireling? So there's a time and a point, hour by hour, right? For you workers out there, you know how many days you're going to work, right? 2, it says, as a servant earnestly desireth the shadow, and as an hireling looketh for the reward of his work, so am I made to possess months of vanity, and wearisome nights are appointed to me. Okay, so he's using the similitude of the hireling and the servant, and then he caps it off here with this, with these wearisome nights, and I'll bet they are wearisome with all them sores, okay, and all that, and loss of his children, loss of his wife actually mocking him, and now his friends mocking him. For it says, when I lie down, I say, when shall I arise, and the night be gone? Question mark. And I am full of tossings to and fro unto the dawning of the day. I'll bet he's sore. All right, to and fro is notice that's what Satan was doing, to and fro. And that's a very hard way to be. In other words, you don't, you do, you don't, you do, you don't. And here we're just tossing around. You can't get sleep. All right. In 5, it talks about why that is. My flesh is clothed with worms and clods of dust. My skin is broken and become loathsome. So his body is just beat up, folks. And when you're that sore and beat up, you can't hardly sleep here. So he can't wait for the daylight. And when the daylight's here, he can't wait for night. In 6, it says, my days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle and are spent without hope. So this is a lot of casting down. All right. Now, we got harmonization here from the translators on all this. Yeah, 7, it says, oh, remember that my life is wind, my eye shall no more see good. Okay. But listen to this harmonization. Job 16:22, Psalms 96 and 102:11 and 105:15 and 144:4, Isaiah 46, Book of James 4:14. Okay, that's what I'm saying. This just harmonizes. The whole Bible harmonizes with itself. But you see, his use of these scriptures are biblical. They're full of wisdom and understanding. My life is wind. Okay, that's spirit. Now he says, my eye shall no more see good. Now, well, wait till the end. We'll see about that. But right now, he doesn't see the hope. And that would be what? Natural. The eye of him in 8 that hath seen me shall see me no more. Thine eyes are upon me, and I am not. So he feels he is going on to be with Christ. 9, as the cloud is consumed and vanisheth away, so he that goeth down to the grave shall come up no more. And that is absolutely true. There is no reincarnation. That is complete muckety-muck. That is reincarnation. It is tied directly to Satanism. They do promote their reincarnation, and they believe they're coming back time after time after time until they evolve into a god, and that is not true. Look at this in 9. Job knows better than that, and so do we out there, don't we, folks? Once to die and then the judgment. 10, it says, he shall return no more to his house, neither shall his place know him any more. 11, therefore I will not refrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. All right, so you see, he's got his complaint, and he's not backing down here. 12, it says, am I a sea or a whale that thou settest a watch over me? So what are you guys doing? Question mark. When I say my bed shall comfort me, my couch shall ease my complaint, then thou scarest me with dreams and terrifiest me through visions. So he's getting this from Satan here, okay? This terrible torment. So he goes and he falls asleep, and then he gets plagued in the dreams. Yes, Satan's allowed to do everything but take his life here. 15, so that my soul chooseth strangling and death rather than my life. Because this is what the amount of suffering. When you're suffering enough, you're ready to go. That's a fact. It doesn't mean that you're going to commit suicide. It doesn't mean that you're sinning. But when life gets so painful, you're ready to move on. That's your comfort. 16, I loathe it. I would not live always. Let me alone, for my days are vanity. So he's asking them to stop picking on me while I'm down here and leave me alone. All right, now here we go with more scripture from him. It says, what is man, that thou shouldest magnify him? ? And that thou shouldest let thine heart set thine heart upon him. Okay, and that's there. He's talking about God. What is man? Okay, Psalms 8:4 and 144:3 and Hebrews 2:6. That's a quote. It's quoted right there in all that. It sure is. 18, and that thou shouldest visit him every morning and try him every moment. Okay, so this is what God does here, and God's doing this here to Job. He's allowing Satan to do this, and Job is aware of that here. 19, it says, how long wilt thou not depart from me? Now he's back to talking about the friends. Nor let me alone till I swallowed down my spittle. I have sinned, what shall I do unto thee? O thou preserver of men, why hast thou set me as a mark against thee, so that I am a burden to myself? And why dost thou not pardon my transgression, and take away mine iniquity? For now shall I sleep in the dust, and thou shalt seek me in the morning, but I shall not be. Okay, so why aren't I being forgiven for whatever my iniquity may be? And he don't need the friends to do that. He just does not. He's very aware of how God can forgive the sins, how God can correct. Okay, he does not need Bildad, who's coming up next, to correct him. He's correcting himself here. And he's very aware of all the scriptures. He just is. So, anyway, when we pick it back up here in 8, Bildad's going to take up where this ends, and he's really going to quote the scriptures and yet not apply them correctly. We're getting a good lesson in that, and that's going to continue here with his other friend, not Eliphaz now, but Bildad. And that'll be in chapter 8, as Bildad runs his mouth without any wisdom and understanding. So, see you there, everybody. Bye-bye.